Okay. So before we start, I'd like to acknowledge that the land that a lot of us are currently living and working on is unceded and unsurrendered ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, and that the island of Newfoundland is the homelands of the Mi'kmaq and the Beothuk. We would also like to recognize the Innu of Nunatsiavut, Nunatuavut, and the Innu of Natissinan as the original people of Labrador. And this acknowledgement is a commitment that we practice in action, striving for respectful relationships with all the people on Turtle Island. So thanks for coming, everyone. We're going to hear from Molly. As you probably know, she's made 100 mini house portraits that are currently on display at Eastern Edge until the 26th. And I personally love the celebration of Newfoundland architecture and all the personal memories attached to each structure. Molly, for those of you who don't know, Molly Margaret is an illustrator and creator living in St. John's, Newfoundland. Her work is largely inspired by Newfoundland imagery and culture, as well as architecture and people wearing tiny boots. So with that said, I'm going to hand it off to Molly.
All right, thank you, Charlotte. I'm very excited about this tonight. And I have a little nerdy presentation. And I'll just, of course, gotta share the screen first. There we go. All right. All right. Is this good? Everyone can see?
Yep.
Okay. Yep, all good. Okay. I will start presentation. All righty. Okay. I'm going to be reading off some paper because if I don't, my thoughts will all be jumbled and all over the place. So I'm going to start by saying thank you for coming. I have a few behind the scenes content to show you. I'm going to talk about me and my process. And at the end, I have a short, like 2-minute video of me painting one of the mini houses. And yeah, at the end, if you have any questions or comments, they're welcome, and I can hopefully answer them. Here we go. To get started, I'll tell you a little bit about me before talking about the exhibition. My name is Molly Graham, but in my illustration practice, I go by Molly Margaret. It was my grandmother's name. It's my middle name, and the only Instagram handle available in 2011. So it just stuck with me. I'm a full-time freelance illustrator, born and raised in downtown St. John's. My work is heavily influenced by Newfoundland imagery, architecture, and whimsical characters, and as Charlotte mentioned, people wearing tiny boots. I try to create work that inspires joy because currently there's so much negativity in the world, and especially on social media. So if I can draw a picture of a cat wearing a top hat and it makes people happy, then I feel like I'm doing my job right. Right. So after high school, I did 1 year of the CNA Textiles, Craft, and Apparel Design, it's a mouthful, program in St. John's. And I realized kind of just how much I wanted to do the drawing parts and the fine art parts. So I made the big move to Toronto in 2014 to get my Bachelor of Design in Illustration at OCAD University. I even did my thesis in embroidery, which definitely, oh yeah, so I took a lot of what I learned at the textiles program into my practice. I even did my thesis in embroidery, which was definitely something I regretted halfway through because it was absolutely mad. If anyone's embroidered, they know how long and crazy it is. So yeah, here I have some images of my thesis. And also I loved Toronto. I felt like it provided so much for me as an art student, but once I graduated, I just felt that Newfoundland was where I needed to be. So when I moved home in late 2018, I started up a sweet little art store with my friend Lily. We taught some fun workshops, had some art shows, and I had my little studio in the back. It's just the picture on the left there. Sorry, I lost my spot. We taught some fun workshops there. I had some art shows. Oh, sorry, my little studio in the back. I got to work in a building full of strong, independent businesswomen, and it was absolutely amazing. And after a few years with the art store, I decided I wanted to try to do the freelance full time and pass the art store on to very good and creative hands. And since then, I have been working independently as a freelancer successfully. Woo. I work with clients providing illustrations, create work for gallery exhibitions, run an online shop, and occasionally do markets. It's been an absolute dream come true. And here are a few examples of the work I've been doing in the last few months. I've worked with Starbucks Canada and a ton of local clients like Whalen Wellness, Port Rexton Brewery, Social Justice Co-op Newfoundland, and CBC has generously provided me with a lot of opportunities this year. And that's me. So now I'm going to talk about the show. And if you know me personally, you probably know everything to do with this already, but it's been, because it's been so consuming for me in this past year. Regardless, thank you for being here to support. I'm going to talk to you about a few things regarding the exhibition. And firstly, it only feels right to begin with how this all started. My personal process on how I was able to create the mini houses and my experiences over this past year as an independent artist. One second. All right. So this all began for me when I was younger. I was always an artist. I feel like I've been an artist my whole life, but when I was younger, I wanted to be an architect. But after realizing how bad I was at math and technical studying, I realized that maybe it wasn't for me. But I've always had a fascination with portraying houses in my work, as you can see here when I was practicing some multimedia. So I have like embroidery, paper cut, sketching, painting. And when the pandemic hit, I kind of realized that I would be losing a lot of art opportunities, or so I thought. And I wanted a pandemic project to focus on. In wondering what to do, I looked through my sketchbooks to find some inspiration, and houses seemed to be a huge part of my practice. Since I was stuck at home and wasn't going to be able to do much traveling, along with most everyone else in the world, I wanted to portray the magic of St. John's through my work so people at home and tourists who wouldn't be able to come could enjoy it as well. The idea for this exhibition began when I made a post of a house I painted for fun on my Instagram. And within the weeks that followed, I was beginning to receive multiple commissions to paint these mini houses from around the world. This was near the beginning of the pandemic, and with the art store closed for the foreseeable future, this seemed like a pretty nice way to earn some income as well. So this gave me the idea to paint 100 mini house portraits for my pandemic project. And it was also a long-term challenge for myself because a lot of the work I do is very like, I sit down, I do it, it's done. So I've never really had like a long-term project since my thesis. So yeah, it was definitely a challenge. Afterwards, I applied for some funding and a space at Eastern Edge Road Gallery, and luckily I got accepted to both. So big thank you to ArtsNL and Eastern Edge for not only making this happen, but holding me accountable to actually getting it done. So so here I have Leo's. If you're a local or even if you visited, you probably know Leo's. It's a great little fish and chip spot. Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting one for one of my portraits. And my process for picking which places to paint it started out random. I had started gathering photos on my walks of places that I thought were quirky, different from the classic row house, and staying in the confines of what my definition of downtown was. But with time, the choices became a bit more curated. I wanted to include family businesses and even some of the most worn down houses in St. John's. some of which have been completely redone since taking the photos of them for reference. Funny enough, Venice Pizza had it's had a red brick exterior with its like classic mural like window for the longest time. And of course, the week after I painted it, they gave the front a complete makeover and painted it gray. So it's kind of nice to think of them as a bit of a memory now and kind of what it used to look like. And people are probably more familiar with the older versions as well. So usually I would pick which one struck me interesting the day of, like when I sat down to paint. As you can see here, I used photos that were pretty straightforward and painted them from photo reference. Obviously, I couldn't really set up an easel on the street, especially since this project lasted like many months and the weather we have here in St. John's. And I actually kind of struggled with taking photos of the houses even. I just like felt very strange thinking that someone was like inside watching me take a photo. But that's just my brain. So I would have photo reference and I would use my iPad as a light box to get the dimensions for the initial sketch. Then I just went straight to painting and I used gouache paint for all of them, which is similar. A lot of people don't know what gouache is, and it's the most amazing paint. It's similar to watercolor, but it's opaque. You can add a lot of water or a little bit, depending on how you want it to blend. I like to use it without much water so I can get like this creamy texture and it layers really, really nice. And it makes painting like white on top of black really easy. So for the details, like you can see within the windows there, I add white as the last part to kind of heighten the piece. Hope this works. All right, so have a little process here, a little glimpse inside what the process of painting a piece is like. This is one of the Four Sisters on Temperance Street. I start with the base color, and in this instance, it was the underlay color of the brick, kind of like a light beige. And actually to pick that color, I usually look at the photo and blur my eyes or just take my contacts out. And that gives me a common solid color. Then I can work my way up. And one of the biggest challenges was actually color matching. It's very, very difficult, especially because I was taking photographs and the colors would be altered in the photo, whether I took it on a sunny day or on a gloomy day. So I kind of had to make sure that that was all, correct. And then I do the windows and the details within them. Some are more complicated than others, and you can capture a lot of detail within the reflections of the window, especially if there's like trees or if there's like plants in the window, it can add a lot of character. And then moving on, I do the roof. If there is a roof, a lot of houses like in St. John's straight on don't actually have roofs, which is why I really enjoyed this piece because it actually included one. Well, of course they have roofs, but it's not viewable to in the front. And then the fine line work is always the final thing I add, and it's the funnest part, and it pulls the whole piece together. All right. Aside from painting and the edited photos I put on Instagram, the process was really challenging. Especially, when I think back to my thesis, that was really challenging too. And the deadlines and, the time, and you spend so much energy on this one. I can see my mom laughing. I can see, it just, it's a lot. And I have this private close friends list dedicated to my Patreons on Instagram. And a lot of the time, it's just me posting the good, the bad, and the ugly. I shared a lot of the struggle with this project with them. And everyone is so lovely and supportive. And well, 13% of people told me to give up, but I kept going, obviously. So it was once I hit 70 portraits, and onward. I found myself hitting a wall occasionally, kind of like an artist block. And it wasn't really about time or deadlines. Like, I'm very good with time and deadlines. I actually really like the structure of that. It was more the energy I had to put into it, and the repetitiveness of it all. And in January, after the holiday rush was over, I realized that this was going to be pretty much every day leading up to the exhibition, and it got pretty draining at some points. This was also during the time of our second lockdown in St. John's, so I was feeling pretty glum from that as well. So it kind of all tied in together. But what kept me going was knowing that I made a commitment and that it would be pretty amazing once it was finished. And I was right, but even past my imagination. It was one of the most rewarding projects I've ever completed as an artist. And I was fortunate enough that I could showcase these pieces to a public audience, keeping in mind that COVID-19 could change everything in a second, like the week leading up to the exhibition at Bannerman Brewing Co. I think we had a few numbers rising, and I was prepared for a bit of a disappointment, but everything went great, and we were allowed to have the opening, very safe and very COVID friendly. So the pieces were suspended from the ceiling on plywood. Huge shout out to my mom, who pretty much took the exhibition into her own hands so I could focus on the art part of it. And so many people came through to have a look. It was spaced out between 2 days and kind of all day, so I could have a rotation of people coming through. And one thing that I wasn't expecting was hearing the stories of the houses from the homeowners or people who knew the houses. And that gave them a life and a narrative that I couldn't provide even if I tried. It was a very personal experience in the end. And actually, the first couple that came in, like 5 o'clock, they came in and they were the owners of portrait number 1. So it felt so strange, and like they were so excited, and it was really great to talk to the homeowners. That was like a highlight for me. And of course, the setup took 7 hours and 5 people, and tear down took 20 minutes and 3 people, and that's how it goes. And I also included a map on the bottom where you can see the pins. Huge shout out to Allie for spending like 4 hours doing that, looking up all the locations, and it was just very tedious and something I just didn't want to do. But she did an amazing job. And it was really cool to see, like geographically kind of the space I covered and how dense it was in some areas and spread out. And yeah, it was really, really awesome. Some of the houses were even attached to each other, which I thought was, there's so many houses. I'm like, why did I pick 2 that were attached? But I just picked them because I love them. And I actually have even more, just like a fun little statistic that I was able to collect with the help and creativity of a few of my friends and family. Over the course of the exhibit, I painted 442 windows, 52 bay windows, 26 chimneys, visible chimneys, and pretty much every color in the rainbow. In the end, it took 441 days, who knows how many hours, 100 hand-painted frames, thank you to my dad, and a lot of friends and family support. And my last slide here, to wrap this little talk up, I wanted to show you my favorite 3 portraits, which was another big question that was asked. I don't know why they're my 3. They just called me. The one on the right, funny enough, was the one I hated painting the most. I painted the pink about 4 times, recovered it 4 times. It was really, really challenging, but in the end, I think it was the most rewarding piece, and I think that's why it's one of my favorites. And the middle one is the old breakwater books, and it's absolutely falling down. It's pretty decrepit, and they're just letting the building just go to waste. So I feel like this one kind of, is a memory because soon it won't be there. And I really like the purple roof. That's really fun. And the one on the left, I think is just very short and sweet. It's very simple, and it's in Georgetown, which is a very lovely, lovely neighborhood. Yeah, in conclusion, it was a really, really amazing experience. And I have a huge list of people to thank, including Arts NL, Eastern Edge, my Patreons who make it possible for me to be a full-time freelance artist. Both my parents for helping out and not complaining much. And my friends, and a big shout out to my partner Grant, who was there every step of the way cheering me on. And thank you guys for coming. I do have a short video if you want to see. It's just 2 minutes long, so I'll just play that. And then if you have any questions, I'll answer them. All right. All right. And then I'll stop sharing my screen, I guess. Does that sound good, Charlotte?
Yeah, sounds great.
Stop sharing. Cool. Yeah, so that was just like a little process, kind of start to finish of a piece. Obviously sped up and I left some parts up, but yeah, what a memory. It's cool. Yeah, so if you have any questions, or Charlotte, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just want to say I love this this collection because each piece has so much care and detail to it, and I'm interested in any stories that stood out to you, because me sitting in the gallery day after day, I hear a lot of people come in and say things like, oh yes, I used to rent the basement in this one, and oh, like my childhood best friend lived in this house, and I just I eat it up, and I myself have memories attached to, I've told you
Yes,
about.
one of the houses.
Yeah, and so is there any favorite stories that you have that people have told you?
I think, well, and there were so many, and like a lot of people were just kind of telling me when when the house was built and, you know, how long they've lived there and how long it's been in their family. Um, and kind of like, oh, we redid it like, you know, a few years ago, it used to look like this. And I think one that stood out to me was one of the owners of Fred's. We had a really good chat about, you know, like stories about Fred's and how long it's been up. And, you know, everybody loves Fred's if you're, it's a record store. If you're not from St. John's. And yeah, he's just kind of telling me these like fun, quirky stories of like the people that have gone through there. And, you know, he was telling me a story, I think it was about, you know, like moving a casket like in the like years and years ago, like in and out of Fred's. And you know how like St. John's houses are so narrow, kind of like taking everything apart and stuff. And yeah, that was really, really interesting. But yeah, again, like a lot of it was just, you know, people telling me the history and stuff like that. But that one definitely stood out. Yeah, if anyone else has a question, do we know how to?
Tracy, I see you have your mic off. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah. Hey, Molly.
Hi.
Well, number one, I'm fascinated to watch you paint because I always think like, what happens at the end if you make a mistake? Like, how do you fix it?
No mistakes, happy accidents. You know, well, that's honestly, that's the great thing.
Video when you did the railing, and I'm like, what if you just like messed up right then?
Well, that's one thing that I love about gouache is that, like, if I painted it completely black, I could go in with white on top and it would be like it didn't exist. Like the pink one that was my favorite, I painted it 4 times, like just on top of each other, you know? So it was really easy to like fix stuff that I didn't like. Like if there was a color I didn't like, I could just go over it. So it was really forgiving in that way. It does dry really fast. So you do have to work like pretty fast. So like, you know, I'd be in the middle of painting and Grant would be like, dinner. I'm like, I can't. I gotta keep going because it'll just dry and I'll lose everything.
Do you have other houses you still want to paint? Do you find yourself still looking for houses to paint?
I am actually releasing a few spots on my online shop coming up because I've had so many people reach out and they want custom pieces. So I think I have, you know, five spots that are just first come, first serve, whoever wants to grab one. So like I am still enjoying painting it. I thought I would be like tired of it. But you know, I really do enjoy it. I enjoy painting. So yeah, I'll be doing probably 5 of those. But leisurely, I'm not really painting. Yeah. Thank you.
So Molly, what's next? What are your plans with the 100 houses?
Well, you know, the biggest question, you know, when I was doing this was like, do I sell all of them? Or like, do I offer them for sale? And then I was kind of like, what am I going to do with 100 framed pieces? So yeah, they are for sale. And I've sold a lot of them actually. And I'm hoping at the end maybe to sell them in a collection, or possibly like if I have 50 left over, reaching out to some of the like local hotels and stuff like that to see if like they would want to do like a little feature. But also like they are available for sale if you're interested and want to take them away, far, far away from me. And yeah.
And what about the possibility of producing a book from,
Yes.
you know, the photos and things that Cara O'Keefe took and whatnot?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had Cara O'Keefe, amazing photographer here, take a picture of all of them, just in case that opportunity came up. And I am currently like reaching out to a few local publications first to see if they're interested in making an art book, because I think that would be just really lovely for people who are local, people who are from Newfoundland but live away and they want a piece of Newfoundland, and for tourists to, you know, bring bring home and be like, oh, look, this is what downtown St. John's looks like. It's not just like these 4 row houses that are photographed all the time. It's got a lot of character. So yeah, that's in the works. I'm hoping someone local will do it. And if not, then I'm just gonna have to do it myself, you know? Yeah. All right.
I have a question for you, Molly. Are there any houses that you started and then were like too frustrated with and gave up, or did you like force yourself to stick it out with those ones?
I forced it because I didn't, well, there was a few houses that I really wanted to paint, but and I kind of started sketching them, but because they were in a different format, I had to just kind of get rid of them. Like if they were too long, I wanted them to all be like the same size. So there's a few that I gave up on, but I didn't really start. So it doesn't count as giving up. But yeah, like I said, the pink one that I did that ended up being, I think, my favorite, was just so painful to paint. It was such, yeah, but you know, just like carry on and just get it done and don't waste the paper or the paint. So yeah. All right, if anybody else has any questions, let me know. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's it. You're cut off now, guys.
Cut off. No more questions ever.
But that's really exciting to hear about the book.
Yes.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I really hope that happens, and I'm gonna work really hard to try to make that happen. And again, if no publication wants to take it, then I might reach out to ones outside of the province. And if not, I'll do it myself. I'll figure it out and just get it made.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Molly, for chatting with us. And I also really appreciate you talking about like the emotional labor that you go through when you're doing things like this. I feel like that stuff is often overlooked because it's hard, and
it is hard. And I also, I feel like, you know, Instagram is a huge aspect of my business, and like, I curate my Instagram to look a certain way, but like that's not real. I mean, it is real. Like that is what I do, and like all the art I post is real. But yeah, there is a lot behind it, and the burnout is real, especially, you know, during a pandemic. Like it was a pandemic project, so kind of the emotions that went with that, you know, kind of matched up.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy for you that you know, you got it all done, and you never, you know, it seems like when you were doing your last few, you didn't half-ass it. You went all the way. You did such intricate ones. So
the final 5, I was like, okay, I really need to flex right now. I really need to like, you know, show everyone, and I'm really happy with the final 5. And if you're in town, the exhibition is still at Eastern Edge until June 26th. Charlotte, is it? Yeah, June 26th. And I also have all of the pieces on my my website, so you can see it virtually, and they're all in chronological order. So I hope you appreciate that, because that took a lot of time, and it was very fun. But yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, so please come down to Eastern Edge if you haven't seen it already. Wednesday to Saturday, 12 to 5. I'll probably be there.
Yeah.
And again, thank you everyone for coming. It was so awesome.
Yes, thank you everyone so much. I really appreciate you all coming out.
Okay, take care everyone.
All right, bye.
Bye.